Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Hope everyone's having a great time. I spoke with Steve yesterday. He is on his way home from the clinic that we just hosted in Montana. He had nothing but high praise for the students and participants who were there and just said, hey, there's not a whole lot more rewarding than seeing folks actually getting results. And so he's on the road right now, coming back. I spoke to him yesterday. He was in Utah. And so we'll get to hear from him here pretty soon. Today I've got a really special video for you. I went through some of the most popular videos that Steve has put on YouTube over the last 10 years, and there's probably going to be 85% of these videos that you haven't seen yet. There's a lot of videos on YouTube, we know that. And so it's very easy to overlook some of the videos that maybe you would appreciate seeing, but they just haven't made their way in front of you. So we're going to put them in front of you today. We've got probably about 9 videos that have been put together, and we're going to go through them one by one. You can find all of these videos on YouTube. As a matter of fact, you can find all of our videos on our YouTube channel, all of the videos that we've uploaded for free, including all of the past live streams. So just find our channel on YouTube and click subscribe, and when we put new videos out there, you'll get those. So thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Be sure to put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like. And if you have any questions, put those in the comment section as well. I will track those down, and the next time we get Steve in front of a camera, I'll go ahead and ask him. So thank you very much. God bless everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Notice I did not reach down to get that. I can tell you of stories of people that reach down to get stuff, and the mule all of a sudden gets scared and stomp them in the back. You know? At least I'm down around them feet, the better. Okay, do you see what I just did?
Yeah.
Do you see what people usually do? What happens to the mule? They get worried. See my hand on the nose? Hand on the nose. Oop, we little ear shy problem too? Not normally. Hand on the nose, get some relaxation. Relaxation, this is saying, oh Fluffy, it'll be okay. It'll be okay, Fluffy. Rubbing on the nose, getting them relaxed. I can feel the stiffness in her right now. So just kind of relaxing, rubbing on her, right ear, left ear. Right to left, right to left, over top. Pull the first one, feed the second one with my hand. Hand on the nose, rubbing, petting, scratching. Rubbing, petting, scratching. There, quieter, rubbing slowly. Nice and quiet. My hand is here. If the mule would nudge me, or if the mule would push around me, then I would lower my hand down and go to here. All right?
She's still tense.
She's very tense. Tense all the way through. See how she's bracing into the ground right there? We'll adjust this up a little later. There we go. Okay. I see if I would have kept on saying, with all that big heavy movement, I'd have had me an ear-shy mule. There's several ways you make an ear-shy mule. One of them was all that heavy, quick movement. And the other one is putting a bit too tight in the mule's mouth, which I'll talk about later, okay? So, I'm going to put my hand on the nose right here. And I got my other hand right here on the lead rope. So I'm going to rub around my hand here. Of course, when the doctor works on you, you're not sick, right? Okay, and I'm going to stand right here. You're supposed to push on me. I'll push on you.
You knocked my hat off. First rule, never touch a cowboy's hat.
So when I push against this mule in his nose, if he pushes against me, I'm going to bump his nose. You see how the bumping in the nose made a difference? Okay, you're going to put this in your right hand, and you're going to bump if it needs to be done. Pretty serious. Take your other hand and move around the nose and get around the mule. There you go. Good timing. Wow. All right, do it again. He says that lady meant business. That was good timing. Did you see that? Wow. Good. You see how it's difference between me and her now? I need to get her over here. Because it's her he's bluffing. And once I bumped on his nose a couple times, he saw that, dang, he better not be bluffing me. When you go to rub on the mule's nose, the mule would throw his nose and do this and try to knock your hand off. Okay? And then would start pushing you around after that, probably. It's usually what they do. But that was the problem. As soon as you went to messing with the nose, he'd throw his head saying, get your hand off my nose. And I said, no, I paid for that nose. If I want to stick my finger in it or whatever I want to do, this is my nose, you know. You're the extension. But good timing. That was awesome. Good for you. Okay, now go up in front of the mule and kind of push on it a little bit. You don't want to push against you, does he? Good. Give a sharp reprimand right there. There you go. Now go ahead and push against her again. Good. Put your nose up against her. Here, there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Good. There you are. This happens so much. All right? And I'll never forget, years ago, I had a big old buckskin horse, and I just loved it when I get behind me and he push me. You know how you've seen it? I had an old cowboy tell me one time, he says, you better quit doing that. You're going to pay the price. I said, really? I said, it's a fun thing. Look how fun. Look how cute my horse is, right? I'm looking for a lost kid. I got a mine shaft right here. What did my horse do that day? Down into the mine shaft. You know? And you can see the movies now. I'm grabbing for everything. I happened to grab a roots just right and held on to it. I had another 60 feet to drop. I hear my partner say, Steve, you all right? I said, throw me a rope, you know. So he threw me a rope, and I got it around myself, and I'm kind of moving around and finally got it hooked up. He dialed it up to his horse and pulled me out. First thing I did was hit that horse, but it was my fault. It wasn't his, you know. So, you know, look, folks, they're not allowed to get in your space. They're not allowed to do it. And if they do, several things you can do. You can pinch their nose. You can bump on their halter, which is my favorite thing, or hit the shins, you know. When they're in your space like this, thank you. When they're in your space like this, you know, and you don't have a lead rope, just tap them like this. You see? They'll learn to get out of your space. You're in a horse trailer, okay, and they're moving you around, and they're smashing you with their hind quarter, right?
No, she's just not getting over so I can close the divider.
Just do this.
Okay.
You see that mule get over?
I guess I'm just not doing it hard enough. I tried that.
There you are.
I'll try it harder.
Do it harder. That's right. Ask, tail, demand, y'all. Notice I increased the intensity with this mule. I tapped on it on the side. I asked, and then I told with a little bit more intensity, and then more intensity demanded, and the mule responded. So then I can get over here, and I can tap on this mule, and this mule wants to get out of my space, wants to get over sideways. You see that?
Would it be to my advantage to practice doing that outside?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, look, folks, don't get to the job unless you got the tools to do the job. All right? So everything, do it at home. Look, it's not important to go riding. Anybody can go riding. I get on my bicycle and go for a ride in my car, okay? I can climb on my mule too. But if he doesn't have my buttons right, if he doesn't have everything I want him on him, I ain't climbing on that mule. Hi, my name is Steve Edwards, and welcome to Queen Valley Mule Ranch. Here at the ranch, we've been training mules for the past 20 years, educating the mule and the mule rider. Also the donkeys, they've become super popular. One of the big things that's very, very important to Mr. Mule and Mr. Donkey is this: the equipment that's going on their back and going in their mouth and in their head. Extremely important that this equipment fits correctly. I have a lot of people that keep asking me the same questions, and I keep answering the same way. They say, how can your saddle fit every mule that you're talking about? And I simply say, we got to remember it this way. The mule has the donkey bone structure. And because of the donkey bone structure, I go by donkey skeletal structure, not muscle mass. The problem with muscle mass is, you watch, within a weekend ride, we can conceivably lose 100 pounds. So what are you going to do? Keep adding pads, and then you got to make your cinches tighter, and then you're going to have your saddles roll. The closer your tree sets to the mule's back, to your donkey's back, the better. That's what's really important. If it's sitting on that donkey's back, if it's sitting on that mule's back correctly, it's going to make a big difference. Now, the skeletal structure. On a donkey, they're V-shaped in their shoulders. Horses are A-shaped in their shoulders. That's why a saddle goes back on a horse, forward on a mule, on a donkey. Since they're V-shaped in their shoulders, that saddle wants to slide forward. The other thing is their scapula goes up and down like pistons, where horses goes horizontal. Right in behind the scapula, there's kind of a cup, and then there's a fat pocket. So there's two places we don't want to restrict. We don't want to restrict the scapula because it's going up and down. We don't want to restrict this area in here because it moves around a lot. Watch your mule, watch your donkey, watch this motion that you're going to be seeing, and imagine your saddle putting pressure into it. Now, they also carry their weight down low, where horses carry their weight up high. So that's just the basics. So what I do is I take the spine, and I measure 7/8 of an inch from the center of my spine to each one of the edges of my bars. By doing that, I'm going to be setting up on top of muscle mass. I'm not going to be setting on the skeletal structure at all, and I'm not going to be sitting on a fat pocket. That's the other thing we have to think about. When we go wider, there's semi-quarter horse, which is what this tree is, and then there's full quarter horse bars, which is a wider tree. And when you go wider, you get up on the fat pocket, which is on the 6th and 7th rib, which is right where you do your cinching. Right where you do your cinching. So when you pull that down, that high spot is going to be pressed on, and you can do something as easy as knock out a rib. Very simple. So using skeletal structure of the donkey that's on that mule, and then I can use the same saddle on the donkey, is how I go by my fit. Here's the thing what you want to consider. A lot of your saddle makers, they come out and they measure your mule in January. All right, we've got a mule measured in January where he's fat, sitting around. Then we take and we measure him again in July, maybe August, where he's been ridden, he's toughened up, doesn't have quite the fat. You're going to have a different measurement. So the folks that are telling you take measurements, they're great saddle makers. They do a good job, but they don't understand working mules and donkeys on those trails. They don't understand spending several days in the trail. If they would, there's a lot of things they would change if they understood the bone structure and the muscle mass and this sort of thing of those mules and donkeys. So they tell you to get 4 wires, put 1 wire on the wither, 1 wire behind the scapula, 1 wire in the center of the back, and 1 wire in the back. Well, that's all well and good. There again, if we do that in January, we're going to have one fit. We do it in July, August, we're going to have a different fit. So let's look at this. This tree that I have here, this saddle stand, is a horse saddle stand. This saddle that I have here is semi-quarter horse. And I want you to notice how it fits all the way across. It's tight here in the back. This is your kidney area, all right? This is your scapula area. Right here is your scapula that goes horizontal on a horse, up and down on a mule. And then right behind here, there's kind of a pocket area. And that area moves around a lot. Watch your mule, watch your donkey. As you see them walking, you'll see that area moving. If you tighten that front cinch, you put pressure up on that area, you are restricting that movement. That's where you get your white hairs. That's where you get your dry spots because you over-tightened that front cinch. White hairs is not a problem. White hairs is just a, hey, you better listen to me. White hairs is a scald. It comes from several things. One, the restriction of that bar. Two, the type of saddle pad that you're using. And three, you're not taking and tightening that back cinch. Now notice again how this thing fits pretty darn nice all the way across on this horse tree, on this horse saddle stand. So that's what that looks like. When we take my tree, this is a polypropylene tree that I use, and it's been very consistent for a lot of years. And I want you to notice that right off the bat, if I just lay it here, it sticks up real high in the back, and it goes into the scapula. But the way I designed it is, as soon as you sit down or tighten the back cinch, the pressure comes up off of the scapula. Now I can run my hand underneath here. I am not impeding, I am not restricting that area, and I'm not on a scapula where it's going to be hitting. All right? So you see that? A lot of people will take and do this and say, oh, that don't fit. You're not sitting on the horn. You're sitting here. And when you sit here, it takes the pressure up off the scapula and off that area. Now notice the other thing is, I'm not sitting down against the kidneys. Here's the downside, folks. That's muscle mass, and your kidneys are hanging. When this constant pressure is beating against those kidneys, you're going to have something called acetaria set in. And it's not a pretty sight to see one die of acetaria. What it amounts to is the muscle gets pounded and pounded and pounded, and then they eat a lot of high carbohydrate feed, and then them kidneys can't handle it, and the kidneys start poisoning the system, and your mule looks like colic, but it's called acetaria. So with my tree, you can see here, this is a horse saddle stand. I've set my saddle back 2.5 inches behind the scapula. Here's my scapula. I set it back 2.5 inches. I don't set on top of the scapula so that I'm getting this. I move it back behind the scapula, and then I tighten the back cinch. It comes up off of that working area, which you can't do that with this saddle. And then I don't have the pressure back here upon the kidneys. So I've got about more than 3/4 of my saddle sitting on the animal's back on muscle mass. You do not have to have every piece touch on that animal's back. If it does, as I just told you, kidney problems, restricting muscle. Okay? So let's just take a look at this. If we look at most of your saddles, people want to use 1 cinch. Oh, we don't want to tighten the back cinch. That's a bucking cinch. No. There's a reason for that D-ring back there. And I'll talk to you more about other saddles and stuff. But that D-ring is to keep you from doing this. When you take and sit down, when you take and tighten up that front cinch, now the back of this saddle comes up. And you got the front of this cinch tightened up. And as you're sitting, you're doing this. Look what the pressure you're putting here. Why do you have white hairs here? Why is it dry? Because we've restricted this area and we don't have that back cinch. That back D-ring is important. On a mule, the back cinch needs to be the tightest. The front cinch needs to be the loosest. On a horse, front cinch tightest, back cinch the loosest. That way you keep it from doing the cantilevering. People are sitting in the saddle. This is why it's going down the road. It's doing this. No wonder your horse is having problems. If you've got standards low enough to ride a horse, no wonder your mule's having problems, and no wonder your donkey's having problems. You know, we all deserve to get bucked off, and I've got 32 broken bones and 2 replaced hips because I didn't listen. So now, want to listen? Here it is. You can see the picture. Any of my clinics, any of my expos, I bring trees. I show you. I want you to see. When you tighten up that front cinch, look what you got. That's what you got. Horses, mules, donkeys, especially when you're using a horse tree. Semi-quarter horse bars are the most used bars on every single saddle. I don't care what saddle company you go to. They all use the direction of semi-quarter horse. The quarter horse is the center, actually, of the equine world. A lot of people don't want to believe it, but it is. It has set the standards. So semi-quarter horse, the narrower, full quarter horse, the wider. When you go wider upon your mule, you are going to have problems upon that 6th and 7th rib on that fat pocket. So that is the semi-quarter horse tree that you're putting on your mules to fit your horses. Here's my tree. As soon as you sit in it, as soon as you tighten up the back cinch, you can see it comes up off the animal. There's no pressure on the kidneys, so I'm not developing any problems there. There's no pressure up here in the scapula area. There's no pressure there. Right where I'm sitting, that's where my saddle needs to fit. Not firm all the way across, putting pressure points everywhere. You have to have pressure somewhere, and I've got it there. Now, that helps you with the trees. That'll give you a pretty good idea. Hope to see you in some other videos. I'll show you how I come about making the Steve Edwards Queen Valley Mule Ranch mule saddle. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to kind of pet on him. Now, this rope that I have is it's got a smell to it. It's got wax. It's a wax coated. So I'm going to put it over his head, but I'm going to come up here like this and kind of pet on him, scratch on him a little bit, and kind of let him see. He's kind of bracy a little bit. He's worried about it. So I'm going to come on up and pet on him, kind of go nice and slow there like that, and pet on him as I'm going at it so he doesn't get worried about it. But I can feel in my hands, he's bracing me, kind of pushing me a little bit. So I'll go ahead and pull that on up. Now, this is a wax-coated rope. It's 2-strand, so it's fairly soft, but yet I can still, the idea of the wax is so that when I put this on him, it doesn't move up and down the face a lot. It used to be, I told everybody, take you an old lariat rope, take 1 strand out of it, and you got yourself a rope. But the waxing was what's important. So we're going to go right to left. You see he's a little worried about his nose, not too bad. We'll come around again, right to left. Notice I put the coils down on the ground here because you can get yourself hung up with those coils. And then I pull up on the first one and I push on the second one. And see, he's a little worried about that. So I'll come back, I'll put my left hand on his nose and I'll rub on him a little bit. And if he goes and pulls his head up, I'm going to squeeze his nose. So I'm going to get his head to come down, come around the right ear first, left ear second. Why do I do the right ear first? If I do the right ear first, I tend to bring him to me. If I do the left ear first, I tend to push him away from me. Okay. Now I can feel this mule's got a lot of stiffness, like right here, a lot of stiffness. So I'm going to work on this mule a little bit. Come here, mule. So that I'm going to work on softness. I'm going to put my right hand up on the pole, my left hand here. I'm taking my middle finger, and when he pushes against me, I'm going to push right in here. So I'm using this finger, pushing right in here, making it uncomfortable for him. There, so I want the softness. So now I pick up on the lead rope. Myself, I like to see my clients just use loops because they're not used to using coils and getting themselves hung up. So I'm going to pick the mule up and come over here in the shade a little bit. Now, the come-along hitch comes over the pole, and there's a notch right here you can kind of feel. There's a natural notch right in this area. You can feel the back of the skull coming up right here. And so this rope, you want to always keep it right in this area. And then you want it 2 fingers above the nostril. Now, this is going to communicate to the nose, underneath the chin, and on the pole. So I communicate to all 3 places that need to be communicated with. Not like a chain where it's only at the nose, top, or bottom, okay? So one of the things I'm going to do is kind of pick up on it and kind of pick and just kind of touch the mule a little bit like this. Good. Get a foot movement, and then come over here, pick it up, get a foot movement, front foot, there, good. Now I'm going to kind of back up a little bit, bracing me right there. Watch my hand, see how it rolls? Asking, telling, demanding. All right, now let's go back to the ask. Seam brace, seam brace. Ask, tail. Oh, I didn't have to go to a demand. So I'll come back forward. Seam bracing me right there. Ask, tail, demand, demand. Okay. Yeah, you betcha. Now, will they lose hair on their nose? Oh, yeah. Will you be able to see where the rope was? Oh, yeah. But see, right now, she's using all 5 major neck muscles, the one along the crest, the one down through the center, one along the esophagus, and these 2 here, plus the throat latch against us. See that muscle right there? That's a pretty tight throat latch for being able to be pulled on, okay? So I'm going to ask her to back up again. Ask, tail, good. Ask, oh, better. Ask, oh, yes. Man, I don't like that tail and demand stuff. So ask her to come forward. Asking here. Telling here. Demanding. See your brace against me? Now.
But you're facing her. That's the thing that's confusing to me, is you're facing her when you're doing that.
Only because I'm building a foundation with her head first. Later on, I'll change that. Right now, she needs to understand to respect the halter. Don't pay attention to me, listen to the halter. I'm halter training, okay? So now I'm going to ask. Good for you. Now I'm going to ask. Good for you. So I'm halter training. I'm not the monster yet, but I'm getting ready to be. Okay, so now pick it up again, asking. Good. Asking, good. Now backing up. Good. Good. Good for you. See the difference? Okay? Asking, telling, demanding makes sense to them because it is the way they talk, the way they understand. Okay? So now, I'll go back. Now ask. So what I'm doing is I'm halter training. All right? This is all halter training.
You know, folks, the mules are the most fabulous animal, equine that there is. Extremely smart. We look back in from the biblical days all the way up, and we see how smart they are. They can outsmart you, and I know a lot of you have been outsmarted by that mule. But let me tell you, that mule is really looking for a friend. But he's looking for a leader first. And if you'll show leadership, you'll find this mule will follow you and do more for you easier, okay? Now, let me give you an idea. A mare, she'll pin her ears and she'll say, don't come no closer. Well, then she'll pin her ears. She just asks you, don't come closer. Then she'll pin her ears and swish her tail. Now she just told you, don't come any closer. Now you keep on coming, and she spins and kicks. That's a demand. Ask, tell, demand. Once you learn those 3 basics right there, that gets you into the communication that they understand. You know, okay, I'm going to ask them with a bump with my lead rope, I'm going to ask them to stand still. They want to move around. I'm going to go bump, bump. I'm going to ask, then I'm going to tell, and they still keep on moving around. I'm going to demand. I'm going to keep jerking and jerking and jerking and jerking on that rope until them feet stop. See, the mules care more about their nose than they do their mouth. So what did I just do? I just spoke the language that Mr. Mule understands. Ask, tell, demand. Don't be afraid to get after him, because if you say, oh, Fluffy, don't do that, he's going to say, okay, I got your number now. I'm going to be the herd leader. And that mule will try to be the herd leader. But it doesn't take a whole lot of strength. You don't need to have strength. You just need to outthink them, okay? So ask, tell, demand. Now, there's some other things you need to consider. You need to know how to use your voice. Guess what? Shut up. You don't need to say, okay, Fluffy, it'll be fine. This way. He doesn't understand that. He understands comfortable, uncomfortable. So ask, tell, demand, comfortable, uncomfortable. So the riding communication when I'm in the saddle. Voice, I'm quiet. I try to say next to nothing, especially in the very beginning when I'm trying to build a foundation. So my voice, now my hands. My hands are important. My hands do not get a hold of both reins when I have a shank bit. When I have a snaffle bit, yes, my hands are going to be communicating. Otherwise, one hand on a shank bit, and that's all. Two hands, you pull on them, you're going to make them tight. So voice, hands, now your legs. Use your legs from use your calves to ask, side of your stirrup to tail, and then your spur to demand. Ask, tail, demand. Using the thought of comfortable, uncomfortable. They're just fine going down the trail. And now you want to stop. So you're going to make them uncomfortable. So as quickly as you can, you pick up on the bridle and you let go. Stop. Okay? If they keep on going, you just ask them. Now you're going to tell them. Now you're going to demand upon them. So just use those three things. Believe me, I can tell you that the majority of people who have contacted me with problems, they've also tried to take them to a professional trainer. You know, I'm going to tell you, if you take my DVDs, watch and see how I do it. It's very easy basics. You can do this yourself. You don't need to be a professional trainer. Oh, Steve, what if the mule bucks? Look, he can buck even if he is well trained. It's part of his life. Part of it. You take my DVDs, and I can tell you I got clients all over the United States, all over the world, that have taken my DVDs and fixed the problems themselves. The downside of a lot of these trainers, they'll go to fix, they'll fix the problem, but they've also added 3 or 4 other problems, you know, like the saddle sitting on top of the scapula, using a horse saddle. The majority of them are using horse saddles. They don't use a breeching. So follow my simple guidelines. You can do it. You don't have to weigh 200 pounds and be full of muscles, you know. All you got to do is use simple, consistent teaching that I show on my DVDs. Hey, you can do it. Get in there, give it a try. And if you need me to help you, call me. Call me. I'll answer that phone. And if I don't answer it right away, I will call you back. I will get back to you and help you out. You can do it.
So you don't do the hindquarter lead or yield, forequarter yield, give them the side pass, all of that stuff.
Oh, I do that stuff.
Okay.
Absolutely. But what I don't do is lateral flexions to where I bend their neck around clear to the right, clear around to the left. Well, all right, where's my shoulder? Where's my shoulder? Guess what a mule does? He goes right through his shoulder. He can run just as fast sideways as he can straight ahead. The only type the only way that I loosen one up is one with the bridle, which I'll show you when it's in the saddle. The other one with the rope halter. Notice with my hand, I can get the head down and relax in here. That's the only type of softening that I do to my animal. This much, and that's all. I don't want these 5 neck muscles to get stronger and stronger. I've had people come to me with clinics, and they say, my mule runs off, and I've got his nose clear to here, and I can't stop him. And I said, how long have you been doing lateral flexions? Oh, my trainer told me to do lateral flexions. I said, well, here's the end result. The mule can put his head clear over here and still get away from the problem. Okay, don't do lateral flexions with the mule. If you do anything at all, sure, teach them how to side pass, how to pick up. You can watch my hands here. Okay, you see the front feet? You see my hand? I can pick up on the hand. Pick up on the hand. See the front feet moving? There's my crossover. I want that. Sure I do. Okay, but I am going to do it with his nose. I'm teaching him how to do it. When he does it right, I let go of him. Then I come back and I do it again in the 3 stages, okay? But I don't bend them clear around. All it does is take these 5 neck muscles and makes them stronger, and you end up with a mule one day. Well, I do expert witnessing for equine accidents, and I had a client that she was brand new to riding. She was riding with one of the owners of the mule company, and she was riding it, testing it, and so here you have a brand new mule owner. They didn't do anything other than say, get in the saddle, pull up if you want to stop, pull to the right, pull to the left, and you're okay. All right, now when you're in trouble, pick up on one rein, and it'll go around in a circle. So the owner says, well, look, I'm going to lope ahead a little bit and see my friends, and leave her hair back here by herself. Y'all see the picture, don't you? All right? Now this lady's trying to stop this mule. She's yelling and screaming. This guy's just looking back. He says, just pick up on one rein. So she picks up on one rein. That mule went running sideways with just as fast sideways as he was straight ahead. Ran into a bunch of the other people, knocked her off. The mule stepped on her head. She had to be hillbacked out. But I've been doing it for 5 months. She's been doing really good. Wait till a stressful day comes around. Then you'll see if your training really works. Okay? Wait till that day comes along. That's when you know it really works or not. What the horse trainers will tell you to do is you'll pull their head around. Some of them will bring them clear around and touch the leg. Come around over here, and this makes them soft. Well, that's fine, I suppose, if you got a horse, but we never did that with our horses. But when my standards got higher and I started riding mules, I started finding that when I would do lateral flexions and build them around, all 5 major neck muscles here got strong. And one day I went to turn. He got scared. There was a rattler went off right here. It went to go, and I went to bring him back. And I went to pull his head around to stop him because he's getting ready to run. Started bucking, and he just ran just as fast straight ahead as sideways. Ran right through a barbed wire fence and off into a draw. And if it wasn't for it was a mule with his feet, I've been up a creek, because he was able to get himself stabilized. So I don't do lateral flexions. The way I soften an animal is I roll my hands right, left, right, left, right, left. And when I do that, that tells my right brain, get your head down, left brain, get your head down, right, left, right, left. You hear these snaps? You're strong enough, you don't need to take off the breeching, right? You can lift up the saddle, breeching and all. All right, take these snaps off.
Oh, just look it right to that.
Go directly into here. I put the snaps on. I got a lot of folks my age that can't lift this stuff anymore, and they put the breeching on and stuff as they go. But she's young enough, she needs to get tougher anyway.
Get your muscles up.
Throw that saddle up there.
Exercise that saddle.
You need to trade it in for that lighter one, I think.
Oh, I guarantee you start riding that lighter saddle, it's a wonderful thing. Okay, so this is my hip safe. I want my hip safe between the point of the croup and the dock of the tail, kind of in the middle, all right? Now, I want it that way because where my hip safe is going to dictate how my breeching is hanging correctly, and it's also going to be able to make sure my quarter straps are correct. So, once I've done that, then I'm going to take this strap and it's going to go right up into here. All right, now, what is the reason for me to go there? My saddle is going to move right and left. So when my saddle starts to move this way, this quarter strap holds that saddle to keep it from going that way. When it starts to come over here, the strap on the other side is going to hold it. Y'all see that? So the purpose of quarter straps is to keep the front of the saddle from moving a lot. Does that make sense to you? All right. So we'll go ahead and take up on this one. Leave that loose. You
Now,
got
does
that?
it matter does this always have to be on the outside?
Makes no difference.
Okay.
It can be on the back side. It can be on the top side.
Okay.
But it's still going to move, even if it's underneath here. Because when you cinch up on the other side, a lot of times, well, I always have it underneath, but it'll still move.
Okay.
The idea of the breeching, folks, is not to hold the saddle back. Okay? It's only to bump it. That's it. Not to continue to hold it all the time. So this is what happens. The breeching is against the rump of the mule. When I start to go forward, the breeching comes away from the hip. Then as it goes back, it touches it. So actually what it's doing, it's saying right side stay here, left side stay here, right side, left side. Got that idea? It's not to stay against the animal all the time. I want 1.5 inches of movement. So as I get that part done, I got this part done. I'll go over here to the other side. Yep. This is Beta. Has a nylon core in it. It's 650 psi per square inch compared to leather at 250. It doesn't mildew. It's indestructible. And this ways I haven't been able to tear it up yet. Now, there we go. I'll get you straightened up a bit. Now, I take my hand and I slide it down here. That's a 1/2 inch. And then I pull it away. I should see only 1 inch. I'm obviously seeing 2 inches. So I'm going to pull up here 1 notch. I'm going to go to the other side. Pull up here 1 notch. Now notice my mule is standing fairly straight in the back end. All right? So I slide my hand in here. That's a 1/2 inch. And I pull it away, and now I can see another inch. Y'all see that? General measurements for you to get started. Slide your hand in here 1/2 inch. Pull back away, I should see 1 inch. 1.5 inches is your beginning measurement. Remember now, your saddle can always move 1.5 inches forward and back, left and right. If this saddle goes 2 inches, guess what it's going to be? On top of the scapula. All right, now, this mule right now is walking on flat ground. He's this long. When I'm coming off the side of that mountain, he's going to shorten up 10 inches. So what do I got to do with my breeching? Shorten it up, right here. Shorten it up. Take it up to the next notch. And as you get used to it, maybe even 2 notches, depending on how steep it is. People think, okay, I got the breeching on. It is going to keep my saddle in place. Yes, but it's imperative you adjust the breeching according to your terrain. According to your terrain, okay? Now, this is your hip plate here. This is about as low as I want to go. That now, as the mule is going down the hill, he's going to sit on that breeching, and he's going to hold that saddle back. Now I'm working little rolly heels. I'm going to lift, I'm going to have to add another notch here, but I'm going to add another notch, and I'm going to bring my breeching up to here. From this point to here, you've got roughly about 10 to 12 inches. So adjust it up to here if you're running flatter ground. Lower, when you're coming off a steep mountain, get off and lower it down. Now, when I take breaks, my mule is going to take a break. And most of the time, my mule is going to take more breaks than me. All right? That's really important. So, I'm getting ready to take a break. I'm getting ready to climb off the side of this hill, and it's a steep son of a gun. So I want to get my mule comfortable. I want to be comfortable. Pull my breeching back a little bit. I'm sorry, sweetheart. All right? Pull this up. Take that cinch completely loose. I lift up the back of my saddle and I shake it up and down. And I let cool air go in there. All right? Makes a major difference in them. So I open it up here, put it down, open it up, put it down. It's all nice and cool. Then I go ahead, just that little bit's a major difference. I go ahead and I set my breeching. Now I adjust my breeching down. I retighten everything here and go off the side of that mountain. Quite often, if I'm out working these mountains and stuff, I'll probably change my breeching at least twice during the day. I don't have the rub spots. I got a comfortable mule, and I don't have a bunch of white hairs all over the place because I took care of my mule. 3 things, right? That's what they understand is 3 things, okay? If you say, get out of here, that's 1, and he's still standing there, okay? Get out of here, that's 2. No, get out of here, no, get out of here, 3, 4, 5. He's going, I don't mean diddly to me. But get out of here, the mule doesn't do it. Get out of here, he doesn't do it. Change, do something else. Go to some other method, okay? But don't keep doing it. He's going to say, well, you're desensitizing me really well, which is another word I don't like, but I'll go over that later, okay? But make them uncomfortable. Take that carrot stick and tap them on that bone on that shin right there. Okay. That'll make a big difference, okay? Or that's just an ask. Tail, whack, act like he made you mad. Boom! And really hit him, you know? He'll come back to you. She'll come back to you. It's not a problem, you all, okay? But they've got you, and they know it. Yes, ma'am.
That's what the mares do to the colts and stuff. If
Sure.
you want to watch your herd with the mares and colts, the colt comes up and does something. Well, the mare will go like this or do something
Push you.
and make it do it.
Yeah.
And that's what you are. You're the bear or the
Herd
whatever,
leader.
the herd leader. And so you want to make them really uncomfortable, like he says.
You have to do it, you know. Now with your lead rope, of course, you're going to be bumping. And halters are extremely important, how they're adjusted and how they're put on, and lead rope is really important. Your rope is really important, but ropes are used different times with different lays of rope, how they're made, okay? So I get a kick out of people all the time that got these huge lead ropes. Why? You are not leading an elephant, you know? And here's the other thing you have to understand is that mules are very sensitive with their nose. So when you got a big bull snap on there and you got a big heavy lead rope, that thing is rolling on his nose all the time. No wonder he's tight on the throat latch, because he just stiffened himself up trying to keep that lead rope from wiggling on his nose. You know? So that's another thing. There's so many little things. Here's the thing. Just because you're getting one thing done, you're creating 5 other problems that you're going to have to deal with. That's what happens. You know. It's just like with the lead rope thing. We think we're doing okay, we got the right lead rope, and then one day we try to stop the mule and he stiffens up. Well, how did he learn to stiffen up? He learned to stiffen up because this halter and lead rope is rolling on him and making his nose uncomfortable, and little by little he got stronger and stronger and stronger, and then one day he's able to tighten his throat latch and he's got you. We did it back with the lead rope, with the bull snap, you know, and these are all little things that I've learned over the years that make a big difference.
What if you have a scenario where you're coming in introducing yourself to interact and you did get distracted, like you were talking about not losing the eye contact, but the plane flies over and you take a quick break? Do you go out and reset the situation, or how
Maybe
do you
just step back a step, you know, and assess the animal. What's the mule doing? You know, what's going on with that mule, and make that assessment from there. You know, I've had people say they're not very forgiving. I basically say no. I think they are very forgiving. You know, I think they're an equine. We tend to put our feelings into the animals. You know, and you're going to make a mistake or two, but that's okay. You know, you can go back and fix it. You know, foundation is what most of these mules don't have. We buy them because they're a mule. We buy them because of their color. We buy them because somebody's got a big story with them. You know, they've been to Colorado and packed out 1,000 elk. You know, we buy them because we're thinking we're going to be safe. Okay, Fluffy, I'm on you now. Make me safe. No. You know, go down the street with your car and let go of the steering wheel and don't touch the brakes and see what happens. You know, it's imperative that when you're riding this animal, you're working this animal, you are pretty much in communication all the time. All the time. You know, as soon as you kind of let your guard off a little bit, that car is going to go right off and into the bank, you know, or maybe off into a canyon. So it can happen. Same thing with these animals. Don't depend on them to think things through. They're going to be thinking of themselves only. That's the only thing they're thinking about is themselves. How do I get myself out of this jam? Now, can I tell you that I've been in some pretty tough places with mules? I'm sure glad I had the mule compared to a horse that tore me up. Yeah. Mule, all of a sudden, he's in trouble, like this one mule, Tom. He was in a bad place, muddy, slick, really tough. And I've been in that place with horses before and have them slip and flip over and roll down their sides. All of a sudden, this mule couldn't get his footing, so he just stopped. He starts looking everything around, starts looking at places. He moved the foot, moved the foot, moved the foot, moved the foot, moved the foot. Pretty soon, he found a little bit better ground, and pretty soon, he got me right on up out of there. Thinking it through, figuring out where he could put his feet. See, the mule will naturally brace into pressure. Horses, they'll come away from pressure. That's why we have the flipping over and the bucking and things like that, because of the coming away from pressure, going into pressure. So as you found, it takes a lot to make them uncomfortable at times, you know. Okay, before I go on the ground, okay, good question. So what all do I want to see before I put a saddle on, okay? I want to first pick up on the lead rope, and I want to see the mule come around. I want to pick up on the lead rope, and I want to see the mule come around. I'm going to lengthen my lead rope, ask my mule to stand right there. I want the feet to stay placed. Now what I'm doing here, I'm testing halter. I don't care, if they move their feet or not. I'm testing to see if they'll follow the pressure of the halter, okay? Like right here, the mule thinks he's supposed to move his feet. I'm getting ready to show him, don't move your feet. So, as he goes to move his feet, I'm going to wiggle the rope, make it uncomfortable. So, he's going to stay right there. Look how quick he learned. Don't touch my nose. Y'all see it? Where before, he was moving his feet, right? But I wiggled the rope a little bit. He says, oh, shoot. You touch that rope, my feet better stay in place. You dictate the feet. When I want a mule to move, I pick up on the rope. I pick up on my hand. He moves. I take the pressure off. I want to see that. If I see that lightness in the animal, him responding to that halter, I can kind of think that the bit's going to be next, going to be pretty good, okay? So one of the next things I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath the neck. You know how folks will take and put their horse in an arena, or they put them on a lunge line, they lunge him. Don't, my mules go, that is a waste of time. They won't do it. You put them in a round pen, the round pen completely different. They'll just stand there. They're not used to it. Only time I put one in a round pen is when I want to teach him how I can catch him, not to make him go around. I don't need to top him off. A mule don't want to be topped off. A mule just get the job done. What do you want to do? Okay. So one of the next things I'll do, I'll throw that around his butt, do the same thing, and I'll step back and I'll pick up on it. You don't quite know what to do. He's kind of going off straight. That's a nice circle. Good. Let me stop right there. So I'll see how light he is. And I'm looking for lightness now. How easy are you going to be when I pick up? You're a little worried about that, aren't you? Well, let's just stay right there a minute. Not that I'm desensitizing, that if he moves, I'm going to bump his nose. I don't desensitize. It's a waste of time. How many of you all got a bear to train with, to desensitize with? No bears. How many of you got a mountain lion to desensitize with? No mountain lions. How are you going to desensitize them? Are you going to see a deer out on the road? How many of y'all got a deer to desensitize with? You don't, okay? Desensitizing is a waste of time. Halter training fixes the problem, okay? So I'll go up here. Now, look how much nicer of a circle. Smooth, head didn't drop as nice. This mule, his neck more comes up out of his shoulders. That mule, the neck comes kind of down out of the shoulders, so it's really easy for him to frame himself up. This one here, he has to teach his neck muscles to break down a little bit to round out his back to get his hindquarters underneath you. So all I'm doing here is how soft are you? So when I go to ask something of him and I'm in the saddle, I'll know how much work I need to have to get him to stop or turn or go around in circles. And this will do it. Better? This is all nice. Oh. Smooth, easy, hardly have to touch the rope. So by the third time, easy, smooth, we're off and running.